Now to South Korea. The country is hosting the World Scout Jamboree. It is like the world's largest youth camp. This jamboree takes place every 4 years. Scouts from across the world come together. In 2017, South Korea won the bid to host the event. And this is the first in-person Scout Jamboree since the pandemic. So clearly, it's a big deal. 43,000 teenagers from all over the world reached South Korea on the 1st of August. Obviously, they were excited. But what greeted them were overflowing trash bins, dirty toilets, bug-infested fields, and extreme freak weather. It's like the festival was cursed. But just like Gotham sends a signal to Batman when it's in trouble, South Korea sent out an SOS to BTS, the K-pop megastars. They're on a break, but Seoul was in a crisis, so it summoned them. What for? To perform for the Scouts. A South Korean lawmaker called Sung Il-jung proposed this. Because how can dynamite not make everyone's life better? Sung says it is about the power of Korean culture to elevate South Korea's national prestige. But this request has prompted angry responses, mostly from BTS fans online. They're called the BTS Army. And they came down hard on the lawmaker. They said, don't use BTS to cover yourselves up. We'll tell you what they're talking about. South Korea's event has been a complete mess. Like a textbook example of Murphy's Law, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. So this is what happened in a week. First, the Scout Jamboree was crippled by a heat wave. Then there was a looming typhoon, fears of a COVID outbreak, and allegations of misconduct. It's a disaster even BTS cannot undo. It started a week before the Jamboree. There was heavy rainfall around the campsite. Soon it turned into a muddy swamp. The camp became a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Then came a heat wave. Temperatures soared to over 35 degrees Celsius. Hundreds of participants fell ill. 600 scouts had to be treated medically. A makeshift hospital was set up. It catered to heat-stricken scouts.
It's hot in here. I'll be the first to admit it. It is very warm. It's humid. They're doing all kinds of things to help us out. They're putting extra buses online. They're putting ice in our camps for us.
Some even started leaving the campsite, like the UK contingent. They moved to hotels in Seoul just to deal with the heat.
And we wanted them to have a normal Jamboree experience. But of course, from our point of view, it wasn't safe enough for them to do that. In addition to that, of course, the heat is pretty punishing, particularly if you come from the UK. You're not used to this kind of heat.
If the heat wasn't enough, there came a Wuhan virus outbreak. Around 70 people were infected. Then there were allegations of misconduct, poor sanitation, rotten food, lack of privacy. A man from a Thai delegation walked into the female shower facility. The organizers called it an accident, but the delegates were livid, and so were the parents of the scouts.
I'm just in shock of how they could have been so unprepared. Like no tents, no campsites, no basic hygiene facilities. I mean, they knew how many people were coming. They took our money. I really feel like they took our money. Where did this money go? It obviously didn't go to making a jamboree for thousands of scouts from around the world.
So where did the money go? Reports say it went on to fund merry trips for officials. The budget for this jamboree was $76 million, but local government officials went on a lot of trips. Most of these were overseas trips. The officials described these excursions as research. Turns out it was more leisure and less research. In 2018, 5 officials enjoyed an 8-day trip. They went to the Swiss towns of Lucerne and Interlaken, and then to Italian cities of Milan and Venice. None of these cities have ever held a Scout Jamboree. But the officials were apparently researching. Others even went on cruise ships, both to the United States and Australia. Ironically, the Jamboree does not have a cruise ship component. So how exactly did these visits help? All of these questions are now plaguing South Korea, and before they could even catch a breath, there was Typhoon Hanun. It destroyed whatever was left of the campsite. Contingents pulled out. Thousands were evacuated. The scouts are now in different parts of the country in groups. It has become more of a tourism jamboree and less of a scout festival.
I don't have control about the weather. I must make the most of it. And that's what scouting teaches us. It teaches us to be resilient, to take things in our stride and handle whatever the situation is. We'll make a plan around it. And that's why I'm part of the Scout movement, because it teaches us these values and morals.
This could be a new lesson for the Scouts. It is definitely a lesson in how not to hold an event. But South Korea says the show must go on. It is powering on with the event. The closing ceremony will have a K-pop concert. Will BTS perform? We don't know. But even if they do, it won't be enough to make South Korea look good after all this chaos.